Personal success is built on the foundation of character, and character is the result of hundreds and hundreds of choices you may make that gradually turn who you are at any given moment into who you want to be. If that decision-making process is not present, you'll still be somebody. You'll still be alive, but you may have a personality rather than a character. And to me, that's something very different. Character isn't something you were born with and can't change, like your fingerprints. It's something you weren't born with and that you must take responsibility for forming. There used to be a joke about football teams that lost every game. The coach would say, "We built a lot of character this year, didn't we?" As if character is something that you settle for when you haven't achieved what you really wanted or automatically develops as a result of adversity. I don't buy that. I don't think adversity by itself builds character, and I certainly don't think that success erodes it. You build character by how you respond to what happens in your life, whether it's winning every game or losing every game or getting rich or dealing with hard time. You build character from certain qualities that you must create and diligently nurture within yourself, just like you would plant and water a seed or gather wood to build a campfire. You've got to look for those things in your heart and in your gut. You've got to chisel away in order to find them, just like chiseling away rock, to create the sculpture that has previously existed only in the imagination. But the really amazing thing about character is that if you're sincerely committed to making yourself into the person you want to be, you'll not only create those qualities, you'll strengthen them and recreate them in abundance, even as you're drawing on them every day of your life. That's why building your character is vital to becoming all that you can be. Charisma is a word that is often confused with character, but charisma is really quite different. Charisma is derived from a Greek word meaning an ability to elicit favor in other people. It's a magnetic quality of personality that people respond to as if it were magic. Charisma is almost like a magic wand that confers power over others. Character has a very different origin. Character comes from a Greek word meaning chisel, or the mark left by a chisel. Of course, a chisel is a sharp steel tool used for making a sculpture out of a hard or difficult material, like granite or marble. So in its origins, the word character isn't related to charisma, which is described as a kind of magic wand. Character isn't a magic wand. Character comes from chisel, and I hope you'll remember that. You've got to chisel your character out of the raw material of yourself, just like a sculptor has to create a statue. The raw material is always there, and everything that happens to you, good or bad, is an opportunity for building your character. Let me point out another important distinction between character and charisma. In both its definition and its derivation, character doesn't refer to other people. It doesn't refer to having power over other people, getting other people to follow you, or gaining favor with other people. Character is something that you have and something that you are. You could be marooned on a desert island and your character would still be important. In fact, it would likely be very important in that situation. But charisma wouldn't do you any good at all. Charisma requires the presence of others, while character is all about you. Character is the person you are after you've chiseled and have gotten past all the unnecessary material to what's underneath. But since we're usually surrounded by other people, let me be a little more specific about how the differences between a charismatic person and a person with character can play out in the real world, particularly in leadership situations. Here are 4 sets of circumstances that can easily occur. First, a really charismatic person can make people believe there's pie in the sky or that the sky is going to fall tomorrow. One just as easily as the other. By creating these expectations, charismatic individuals can indeed energize and inspire others, or terrify and demotivate them, until the overblown scenarios are proven false and the charisma runs out. But a person of character doesn't need to be anyone's Pied Piper and isn't comfortable in that role. Instead, he or she looks within for the true source of inspiration and energy. Second, a charismatic person can inspire devoted or even fanatical loyalty, but this can all too easily turn into an unconscious sense of dependency. That can make matters difficult when the leader is no longer available. A charismatic coach is effective during the glory years, but when he leaves the organization, there's a sense of abandonment, and the team may never achieve anything like its prior success. Powerful personalities often resist delegating authority, but it's an attribute of character for a leader to refrain from making himself or herself the indispensable heart and soul of an organization. Here's a third difference between character and charisma that's particularly important in a leadership situation. Charismatic people have to keep pulling rabbits out of the hat. The magic of their presence has got to keep expressing itself, or people might start wondering where it went. Worse yet, they might start getting bored. During the Second World War, Dwight Eisenhower was picked to command the Allied forces in Europe, not because he was an exciting leader with a sense of high drama, but precisely because he wasn't. There were plenty of charismatic individuals around, such as Churchill, Montgomery, de Gaulle, and Patton. What was needed was somebody with toughness, stamina, and the ability to manage people. Just before the Normandy invasion in 1944, Eisenhower met with a group of officers who would be going into battle. He stretched out a piece of string on a table and pulled it a few inches with his finger. "An army is like this piece of string," he said. "If you try to push it from behind, it just tangles and doubles back on itself. Soldiers have to be led from the front, not pushed from behind." Eisenhower may not have been colorful, but he could definitely get his point across in a way anyone could understand. He had character in the true sense. One of the biggest pitfalls for a charismatic leader comes from his or her ability to inspire love and devotion. And this is the last point I want to make. To bask in the warm glow of a leader's approval, people may become reluctant to voice disagreements. There are people who become isolated because subordinates are afraid of them, but the same isolation can occur as a result of misplaced affection. People of character are usually well loved by everyone around them, but they make it clear that their own first love is for the truth, even if it hurts. And that's not a bad reputation to have. When you are a person of character, you know who you are and where you want to go. You've already spent a great deal of time thinking about it. You've been working on the parts of your personality that will make you better. Your attitude, your health, your time, management skills. You've been putting it all down on paper, and you've developed positive self-direction. As you talk with yourself every day, how often do you ask, is what I am doing today getting me closer to where I want to be tomorrow? Because here's what you don't want to ever do. Kid yourself. Kid your neighbor and kid me and kid the marketplace if you want to, but don't kid yourself. You can't wait around with your fingers crossed, hoping you'll arrive at a good destination when you're not even headed in the right direction. You say, well, maybe the wind will take me. There's a chance, of course, but it's about as likely as winning the lottery. You've got to take charge. Ancient scripture says that hope, if it's delayed long enough, can make the heart sick. You've got to ask yourself often, am I performing the disciplines that are taking me in the direction that I want to go? I don't want to delude myself and think I'm on the way to financial success when there's not a prayer. I don't want to delude myself into thinking there's someone else who will take care of it. Nobody else is going to take care of it. Nobody else is going to take care of me. What if all of your negative thinking relatives turn positive? What would that do for your fortune and your future? Not much. If prices came down a little, what would that do for your sophistication and your culture? Not much. If the economy gets a little better, what would that do for you? Not much. If you don't make plans of your own, you'll fit into someone else's plans. And what do you think they have planned for you? Not much. Most people wake up every morning counting on this not much list. And that's all they have. Not much hope, not much promise, not much progress. They're driving what they don't want to drive, living what they don't want to live, doing what they don't want to do. Forget the thief waiting in the alley to snatch your purse. What about the thief in your mind? He is tempting you to become lazy, not stimulated by thoughts and questions. Don't become a victim of yourself. Ask yourself these questions. Is this the direction that I want for my life? Is it someone else's direction? Is it a goal that has been ingrained in me since my childhood? Is it my parents', my spouses', my bosses', or my children's? Is it mine? Ask yourself these questions. Get into the debate of your inner mind. What am I doing that works? What am I doing that doesn't work? Debate it all. Work with your mind to figure out the best possible direction for you. This is your self-direction.
What are the things that you fear that's been keeping you from living your dream? That's been keeping you from doing some things that you would like to do? Just think about those things.
Every time your voice speaks and thinks about having something new, fear is there to squash it. Every time you want to try something new, fear is there to squash it. Every time you want to go somewhere new, fear is there to squash it. The big problem I see in the world today is that too many people are letting fear always win these inner conflicts.
Every single person out there listening to this right now is afraid of the what ifs. They're afraid of what might happen. They're afraid of, what if I do this and it doesn't happen? Nobody knows what's going to happen. I don't know, you don't know, we don't know.
What if you don't do it? What if you don't chase your dreams? What if you don't stand up for yourself? What if you do not step up to the plate and take that challenge?
So it's not being afraid of the unknown, it's going into the unknown with reckless abandon, waving your head, saying, holy, I'm gonna kick some ass today. And when that comes, you kick its ass too. That's what being successful is about.
You face your fears, you become the person you want to be. You run from your fears, you're not living. You're alive, but you're not taking freedom. If you face your fears, guys, that fear is destroyed. It comes back in its confidence. What else am I capable of? What else am I holding my back from? What am I running from? I don't need to. What else can I overcome?
Fear is looking too far ahead. Focus on the next step and not the staircase, the next obstacle. Look at the amount of obstacles as opportunities to succeed, not to fail. There is no such thing as failure. There is only exhaustion. Not showing up is failing. Don't be afraid of the finish line and welcome the starting block, and you will overcome the fear and uncertainty one step at a time.
The absence of fear, it is moving forward in spite of it. I have to have the courage. And let me tell you something, most Americans don't have this kind of courage. I have to have the courage to stop making excuses.
There is no excuse for not living up to your fullest potential. No excuse. Stop being a victim. I stopped saying I've got to wait for good things to happen to me, and I said I'm gonna grind. I'm going to fight. I'm going to work. I'm going to press toward. I'm going to learn. I'm going to do everything in my power.
You are the only person that can encourage you to get back up. Look in the mirror right now and tell yourself, I will fight through this. I will make it, and I won't give up. Life, you thought you had me down, but this is the moment I change my mind. I won't let anything keep me down.
No matter how many times I fail, no matter how many times I feel rejected, embarrassed, down, out, I will not give up. I will keep at it until my greatest fear dies. I will stand toe-to-toe with fear. Fear will die.
Nobody's journey is seamless or smooth. We all stumble, we all have setbacks. If things go wrong, you hit a dead end, as you will. It's just life's way of saying, time to change course. So ask every failure, this is what I do. Every failure, every crisis, every difficult time, I say, what is this here to teach me?
Instead of focusing on how unfair your situation is, I'm challenging you to use your frustration to push you harder. I want you to know that you are not finished. In fact, you are just getting started.
If you don't learn how to master the breaking point, you may have many ventures, but you will not accrue massive success in any area because you have not mastered the breaking point.
You're never just a victim of circumstances. No matter what happens, you're never without options that can get you back on track. It takes courage to recognize that, because it means accepting responsibility for your own future. But I would suggest that we should accept that responsibility, because no one is really going to accept it for us, no matter what we may have been led to believe.
It takes courage to act. Part of being hungry when you've been defeated, it takes courage to start over again.
Yes, we have those ups and downs. But in the end, your success, your happiness, your greatness comes from within.
I wanted to be somebody so bad, it just ate me up inside. It was in my bones, it was in my blood, it was in my heart. I want to be somebody. You've got to have standards in your life. You've got to have rules you live by. Discipline, the definition, is doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it.
Begin to know that whatever it takes for you to create that, you've got that in you. You've got that. You've got genius in you. You've got goodness in you. You've got creativeness in you. If you decide to take the initiative to change the current quality of your life, I say to you that you will find that the universe is on your side.
There's a lesson in this story. So many things are trying to come to you. So many doors are trying to open, but we're so attached to who we've been that we can't quite become all of who we're supposed to be.
So what you say to yourself, support. There's no fucking coach, there's no trainer to keep you going. It's only you. The whole thing is this. Don't say a word. Stay uncommon amongst uncommon people. You're never done. Don't stop when you're tired. Stop when you're done. Stay hard.
Discomfort is a funny thing. We all do our best to avoid it, and most of us attempt some form of personal development precisely because we want lives with less discomfort and more serenity, ease, and enjoyment. This goes back to the assumption that we shouldn't suffer, ever. And if we do, we should act in whatever way is necessary to end it. We think, this discomfort is unbearable. I hate it and want it to stop. Something is wrong. But is it? Is your reason for not wanting to exercise self-discipline related only to mere discomfort and nothing actually harmful? You want to answer, no here. Otherwise, you are admitting that you melt faster than an ice cube in summer. Consequently, you may realize how much you disempower yourself. Let's talk about going to the neighborhood gym. Almost anybody who's in decent physical shape, it stands to reason, has probably conquered most of their self-consciousness about working out in public and has no problem sweating it out in the presence of strangers. For those who aren't top physical specimens, the story can be quite different. Exercising can make them uncomfortable for a myriad of reasons. From the moment they get on a treadmill, they may feel like they're being watched and judged. If they try to do an arm curl, they may feel embarrassed or timid in the presence of someone who's obviously done thousands of them. If they're trying to work off the paunch around their stomach, they may feel that other people are watching and appraising them harshly. This is, of course, ignoring the muscular fatigue and soreness that can follow. Thus, for someone who is debating going to the gym, is mere discomfort holding them back, or is it the prospect of real harm? That's the crux of the third. Yes, no question. Do I not want to do this just because it makes me feel uncomfortable? Or is this actually having a negative, harmful effect on me? I'm willing to bet that 99 times out of 100, the answer is yes. It's merely uncomfortable. You are being pushed out of your comfort zone. You will suffer a bit mentally. Your body will grow sweaty and fatigued. Your brain will be exercised to its full capacity. You may experience some negative emotions such as stress and anxiety. You will recover just fine without lasting repercussions. This is all discomfort, and then nothing. So are you the type of person to pack it in just because you're uncomfortable? Feel free to slide down the slippery slope of what kind of person that might make you. Your worst case scenarios and wild justifications are just providing a flimsy reason to avoid discomfort. In fact, they're nothing more than mental illusions. This question forces you to face a shame that you are easily stopped by discomfort. Discomfort has and never will be a legitimate reason to not exercise self-discipline. And thus, this shame should propel you into action. This is a question where the yes-no dichotomy is particularly effective. Every single thing we do to better ourselves, to affect positive change in our lives, is going to involve some measure of inconvenience, discomfort, or fatigue, at least in the beginning. It might even involve minor pain, especially if you're working out for the first time. But are any of those consequences inherently harmful? Do they really undermine our integrity, threaten our health, compromise our sanity? No, they don't. There are 1,000 cliches that reflect that truth, like no pain, no gain. Effecting real change in your life is going to involve a measure of discomfort. I can't think of any kind of emotional, physical, spiritual, or occupational change that doesn't entail some irritation, soreness, inconvenience, or bother. If they didn't, everybody would do it. Think about this question with everything you do that's causing you some measure of discomfort. You have the choice to be lazy and weak, spirited, or get into action. Why should you do something you really don't want to do? Life is a complicated enough affair as it is. Why weigh it down even more with something that you just don't want to experience or put effort toward things that make you miserable to any degree, even if they will result in positive consequences? What's the difference? Don't you have free will? What about living for carpe diem and truly living life because you're only young once? Those are all true. But now imagine people who do not have your range of options. Some people have to do things that nobody else wants to do to make ends meet. They work menial or strenuous jobs or work multiple jobs because they absolutely have to. Some of them have to take care of entire families, which might restrict them from things they really want to do. In fact, they may be so busy or preoccupied that they don't have time to even think about what they really want to do. They have no time for anything except working, eating, and sleeping. They indeed have the proverbial gun to their head, and then they have to do that every day of the week. Some of them may be perfectly content with this. Maybe they find meaning in what they do, and that's enough for them. That is respectable. You, however, by virtue of being able to hem and haw and procrastinate, are in a position of privilege to have the choices they don't. The chores and tasks you have to endure to get to the goal you want to reach are opportunities they do not have. They'd love to have the time to learn a foreign language, develop a knowledgeable appreciation for art, or spend time learning to communicate with their loved ones. They'd also love the choice to not do something they need to do. They just don't have the ability or time. You do. And not to be mean, but let's be honest. If a longshoreman heard you complaining about the leg cramps you got while doing sit-ups, he might think you're being a little, well, ridiculous. He has no choice but to wake up at 5 a.m. each day and work until 8 p.m. How's that for a bit of perspective? Surely you can push a bit harder in the gym. Surely you can make the bed every morning. Surely that darn car can finally get washed. The answer to this question then is hopefully no. It's not a good excuse for anything. Everybody does something they don't want to do from time to time, but some people don't have the opportunity to do anything else. Turn that realization into a sense of gratitude that you can do it. That's not just the right way to be either. It will give you a positive outlook because it's impossible to feel gratitude and negativity at the same time. Spend some time thinking about people who have to do those arduous or dreadful jobs every day of their lives. Write them down in a list if you have to. Then put yourself in proper perspective about the pesky discomforts or chores you have to do to get to your goal. Your being able to do those annoying things is actually a great freedom. These things you want to avoid are only drudgery if you choose to see them that way. Coming at a task from a mindset of gratitude versus dread will create vastly different outcomes. In the grand scheme of things, you're not asking all that much of yourself, and the end result will be far more worthy of your mental energy than what you spend to complain about them.
We've been primed over time from thousands of years that the unknown is a scary place. And so then, by thinking the same thoughts, by making the same choices, by doing the same things that create the same experiences, that produce the same feelings and emotions in time, and those emotions begin to influence your very same thoughts, causes our biology to stay exactly the same. And so we afford people new information, new knowledge, new understandings, new philosophy, new theory, and we inspire them to make new choices, to begin to do new things and break the old habit and relearn, to create new experiences and produce new emotions. And in just a matter of 4 days, people begin to upregulate genes that begin to heal their body and change the way their body functions just by changing the way they think, changing the way they act, and changing the way they feel. The problem is that the brain and body locked into the past, clinging to the known and familiar, where the body has been conditioned to be the mind. The moment a person decides to do something differently or make a different choice, they feel uncomfortable because they've left the known and they've left the familiar. And if the body has been conditioned to be the mind, the animal, the servant, is now the master. And it wants to return back to familiar territory. And as we step out into the unknown and we feel that discomfort, the uncertainty, not being able to predict the next moment, the body begins to influence the mind, and we start to hear the same thoughts. And if we respond to that thought that's hardwired in the brain, and we accept it, we believe it, we surrender to it without saying, is this the truth? That same thought leads to the same choice, which leads to the same behavior, which creates the same experience and produces the same feeling and the same emotion. And the person says, this feels right to me. But all it is that it feels familiar. And so the process of change then is to become conscious of your unconscious thoughts. And the more conscious you become of your unconscious thoughts, the less you will go unconscious to them in your waking day.
The element of consciousness is the intelligent awareness within us that gives us life every day. Let's term this objective consciousness or the subconsciousness. This is a system of awareness separate from the conscious mind. It is subconscious, but it is incredibly intelligent and mindful. It is also separate from the thinking brain, but it operates via the other parts of the brain to keep our body in order. With objective consciousness running the show, the brain processes millions of automatic functions every second on a cellular level and at an aggregate level as well, of which we are not consciously aware. These are the aspects of our health and life that we take for granted every day, the systems that control our heart, digest our food, filter our blood, regenerate cells, and even organize our DNA. It takes a great and unlimited consciousness to be responsible for all these functions. This objective intelligence knows so much more than what our personality self knows, even though we think we know it all. This is a universal, fundamental aspect of every human being, independent of age, gender, education, religion, social status, or culture. Few ever stop to acknowledge its power, will, and intelligence. In fact, this aspect of consciousness is what gives life to all things. It is a real intelligence with quantifiable energy or force that is innate to all things. It is objective and constant. It has been called zero-point field, the source, and universal intelligence. It is the source that collapses the quantum field into all physical form. Literally, it is the life force. Quantum physics is just beginning to measure this field of potentials. As human beings, we possess both elements of consciousness. We are consciously aware as a subjective consciousness, and we exist because we are connected to the force of life that is an objective consciousness. We have free will to choose the quality of life we desire, and at the same time, a greater intelligence is giving and allowing us the animation of life in every second. In fact, science now understands that everything physical, including you and me, is just the tip of an immense iceberg. The question is, what is the field that holds it all together, and how do we make contact with it? The brain has the equipment, so to speak, to facilitate both these levels of consciousness. The brain without consciousness is inert and lifeless. When consciousness is facilitated through the human brain, the end result is called mind. Mind is a working brain, a brain in action. Mind comes into being when an operating brain is animated with life. There is no mind without the physical expression of life through a functioning brain. Mind then is the product of consciousness manipulating the subtle and diverse neural tissues of the brain. Since both of these specific levels of consciousness animate the brain to create mind, we must possess two different arrangements at work in the brain. We have conscious mind and subconscious mind embroidered in two diverse brain systems. Accordingly, the brain has two distinct generalized systems with appropriate hardware to facilitate two types of consciousness. Our conscious awareness is based in the neocortex. The crown of our brain, the neocortex, is the seat of free will. This is the conscious thought center of the brain, where everything an individual learns and experiences is recorded, and where information is processed. The arrangement of how brain cells are connected together in the neocortex distinguishes you from other individuals and makes you unique. You have the ability to be consciously aware of yourself, your actions, your thoughts, your behavior, your feelings, your environment, and your mind, and to express thoughts and ideas. The invisible qualities of self-reflection, self-contemplation, and self-observation define your subjective experience of self. When we speak in terms of a person losing consciousness or regaining consciousness, we mean that he or she is leaving or returning to a level of being, self-aware, awake, and possessing a conceptual memory of self. All this is managed by the neocortex, the new brain.
If you're living in stress and you're living in survival and that system is switched on, then everything will be a threat. Everything will be a danger. Everything will be a reason to rush, to be impatient, to be frustrated, to be judgmental, because that's the consciousness, that's the emotion we're living by. So now you have a problem with a coworker, you have a problem with your partner, whatever it is that you used as an example, and you have to give a presentation. Now you really have one of two choices. Either be victimized by those conditions in your life and you stay in that emotional state, and I'll say to you, Jay, why are you that way? Well, I'm this way because of this person, this circumstance. The person or circumstance is controlling the way I feel and the way I think. Anything that controls the way I feel and the way I think, I'm victim to, right? Okay. Or I actually can be a creator now. Okay, so when it's the hardest, it matters the most. Okay, so there's going to be a story, a valid story that's going to go along with those emotions that you're going to have to give up, that you can address at another time from a different state. If you're altered in that state and you say something, you do something, you write the email, you send the text, you'll always regret it. You'll always say, I should have never said that. I should have never done that. We got to learn that we're in an altered state at that time. So there's only one of two choices. You either stay there the whole day and tell everybody that story, or you say, okay, let me take a moment. Remember that this is the experiment called life. Okay, let me practice getting relaxed in my heart. Let me slow the animal down. Let me practice that. Take a few minutes. Now, let me breathe. Let me get my state back. Let me change everything. Okay, let me remember who I am, who I want to be when I open my eyes, and let me practice that again. Now, even if you had to do that 10 times in one day, I would say it was a day worth living. I would say it was a day worth living. And when we do walking meditations, in our retreats, we're doing walking meditations so you can practice doing it with your eyes open.
Yes.
Like if you're gonna be relaxed in your heart and awake in your brain, and you can do it with your eyes closed, okay, let's take it out for a test drive.
Yeah.
Let me open my eyes. Let me pay a little bit more attention to my inner world. Let me practice feeling this feeling. Let me practice feeling this way, and let my brain do what it does. Let me get defined. Let me change my physiology. Let me change my state. Let me walk as the healed person. Let me walk as the abundant person. Let me walk as if my prayers are answered. Let me walk in this state. If I keep practicing that over and over, it's going to become a habit, right?
Yeah.
So we hit it as many ways as we can. We have at least 7 or 8 different breaths that we do because we see how they all work in the brain. We have all kinds of meditations. We have sitting meditations. We have standing and walking meditations. We have laying down meditations because we want you to be able to do it with your eyes open, with your eyes closed, standing, walking, any way you can so that you don't default and return back to that person. Now, if you do default, you didn't fail. That's a program. You just went unconscious. And how many times do we have to forget until we stop forgetting and start remembering? That's the moment of change. No one cares how many times you fell off the bicycle. If you ride the bicycle now, you ride the bike. So it's the constant process every single day. And I think that sometimes we look for evidence in our life and it hasn't happened. And I think it's so important that we still show up. Yeah, because that's where you're changing the most. And when you get to that point where you could care less if it happens or not, because you feel so happy, so grateful for who you are, get ready because your life is going to begin to change in magical ways.
Let's talk a bit more about the conscious and subconscious aspects of mind. Conscious mind affords us the ability to process conscious thoughts and information. This mind is self-knowledgeable, self-conceptual, self-realizing, and self-perceiving. It is what we refer to as the self, the you. Using its free will, the conscious part of us can place its attention on any one thing. This is the privilege of being human. In the chiropractic science and philosophy, it is called the educated mind, and it is processed in our newest brain region, the neocortex. The brain is the organ with the greatest number of neurons organized together. Where there is the greatest number of neurons, there are the greatest levels of intelligence. Consciousness uses the brain to mindfully process learning and experiences into electrochemical impulses called thoughts. The mind, then, is the product of the brain in action. The mind operates when the brain is alive and facilitating consciousness. Consciousness has 2 specific qualities. Objective consciousness is the life force, the source and the 0-point field. You and I are connected to that field, which affords us life through the midbrain, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. This is the subconscious mind. Subjective consciousness, situated in the neocortex, is the explorer, the identity that learns and evolves its understandings for a greater expression of life. This is the conscious mind. Once we understand how the brain works to create mind, we can go beyond the comfortable boundaries of what we already know. When we can unite our conscious mind to that infinite mind with unlimited potential, we will have access to a world of new possibilities. Consciousness is the only element that makes sense of how we can change the brain and mind. It is that intangible aspect of ourself that influences the brain to produce mind. The time that we are truly conscious, attentive, aware, and present is when we change how the brain works to create a new level of mind. When we can use the conscious mind together with the subconscious mind, we will be able to modify our hardware and upgrade our operating systems. At that moment of merging consciousness, the brain can be rewired.
So the idea is, if you can change the way you think and change the way you feel, could you begin to produce outcomes or effects in your life that cause you to believe that you're the creator of your life instead of the victim of your life, which means then you would have to think greater than that circumstance, and you would have to feel differently in the presence of that circumstance. And if you truly could, and begin to create an outcome, the synchronicity, the serendipity, the coincidence that happens in your life, you're going to pay attention to what you did, and you're going to realize that on some level you had a hand in that, that you were a participant in that. Our interest is to teach people how to reverse that process. Every person, every circumstance, every condition, every place, every object that you own is mapped neurologically in your brain. So your brain is a record of the past. It's an artifact, a repository of everything you've learned intellectually or experienced. End products of experience are called emotions. The memories that we have in our life produces familiar emotions, or our response to anybody that we know in our life. There's a neurological network for your boss, for your coworker, for your ex. And for most people, their interaction in the environment is causing their environment to control their thinking, or their personal reality is controlling their personality. So our interest is to see is that, well, if your personality is made of how you think, how you act, and how you feel, is it possible if I begin to change the way I think, change the way I act, and change the way I feel, should my life change? Because I'm changing. And so the interest for us then is to be able to meet the challenges and conditions in our life from a greater level of consciousness, and not be victimized by those circumstances, but to take time and to review how you're going to think, how you're going to act, and how you're going to feel. That's meditation. And review how you're not going to think, how you're not going to act, and how you're not going to feel. It just turns out that tends to be 95% of who we are, is those unconscious programs. So it's so much easier to forget than to remember, because it's the majority of who we are, after a certain point in our life. So changing that process, the overcoming process of that same self, somehow begins to produce effects in people's lives. And that's kind of the exciting part about being a creator of your life.